What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my review of the Motorola Moto G Play 2023. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, as the name does imply, the Moto G Play was launched in early 2023, and this is yet another affordable option from Motorola. One important thing though to keep in mind with this device is that it is 4G LTE only, so there is no support here for 5G. However, if that's not important to you, then I suppose it's not really an issue. Another thing too is that if you want to go for the factory unlocked model of this device, it is compatible with all major US carriers, and I have linked to it in the video description. And also, I know that the various carriers themselves do offer this device, and typically if you buy a phone through a carrier, you will end up getting a pretty decent discount on it. So I definitely recommend both looking at the unlocked model and also seeing what your favorite carrier is offering. Now, before I show you a variety of different things about the Moto G Play 2023, let's take a closer look and see what all comes included here in the box. So here's the box. You can see right there, Moto G Play. It does feature eco-friendly packaging, which is pretty cool. And then opening this up, we don't get too many items, but we do get a quick start guide here. We also have a SIM card removal tool. We have a USB-C charging and data transfer cable. And then finally, we do have a 10-watt USB wall adapter. So definitely nice to see that we are getting a wall adapter here with the device, especially as that's something that we're starting to see less and less. Now with this device, we're getting a very large 6.5-inch display. Now the display is PLS LCD, and what's really cool here is that it actually features a 90 Hz refresh rate. So a bit more of a premium feel when navigating around the phone, just because things do run a bit smoother. Now typically the norm, and especially for lower end budget phones, is that they have a 60 Hz refresh rate. So again, having it be 90 Hz is certainly a nice feature to have here. Now the display itself is 720p, but despite being 720p, it does look pretty decently crisp and clear. And also, viewing video content on this device is really good because we are getting great colors, and then with that large 6.5-inch canvas, it does make things very immersive. Another awesome thing too about this display is that I appreciate that we have a hole punch for the front-facing camera, which is 5 megapixels, and I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from this device later on in the video. But overall, I do like the design. The bottom bezel is slightly thicker. We are getting a 79.7% screen-to-body ratio, so overall pretty decent, and you really can't ask for too much with a phone in this category. Now the PPI of the display is 270, so you can still see some pixels when looking at it, but again, for a lower end phone, I feel like it's perfectly adequate. And then finally, with this device, we're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor here, which makes this phone ideal for going on social media. Because if you think about it, if you have a taller and more narrow device, you'll be able to fit more of a single social media feed in the frame here, which means that technically you don't have to scroll quite as much. So this phone is definitely optimized as far as the design goes for the way that people use phones nowadays. Of course, when it comes to phone calls, text messages, and kind of the fundamentals of a phone, it does well with that. But if you want to use this phone as a content consumption device, it's also great for that too. Now the biggest shortcoming that I can think of with the Moto G Play 2023 is that it only has 32 gigabytes of internal storage. And really in 2023, that is not enough. I don't know if it's a total deal breaker, because if you're just looking to do more basic tasks on your phone and you're not looking to download a bunch of different apps, then you'll probably get by fine. And thankfully we do have microSD card expansion, so you can always offload photos and videos, for example, but I really wish this phone did have 64 gigs. And I would definitely recommend looking at your current phone, seeing how much space that you're using right now, and then basing your buying decision off that. Because for example, if your current phone has maybe 64 gigabytes of space and you're using 40 gigabytes, then this phone literally won't have enough space for your various apps unless you want to not install as much on this device. Now with the Moto G Play 2023, there is no wireless charging, which is a bit unfortunate. However, that's not really a feature I'd expect with a lower end phone like this one, but at the same time, it would have been nice to have wireless charging. So if you're happening to be using a higher end phone and maybe this time around you want to save some money, then just know that if that phone has wireless charging and you use it a lot, you won't be getting that here with this phone. So I definitely don't want there to be any potential surprises. But with this device, there is no face unlock, which is a bit unfortunate, but we do have a fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone. So we'll give that a try right now. And the fingerprint sensor is very fast and responsive. We'll try that one more time. There we go. So definitely very reliable. And then also the placement of it is very convenient too. Now taking a look at the cameras on the back of the device, we have a triple camera setup with a 16 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera to assist with portrait mode, and then we also have a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. And in addition to having portrait mode for the rear camera, we also have portrait mode for the front-facing camera on this phone too. And then also when it comes to video recording, this device can capture 1080p video with both the front and rear cameras. Now here's how things look on the camera app with the Moto G Play 2023. This is with the main rear camera right now. Then from here, we can switch over to the macro camera to get very close up and have things be in really good detail. We can also exit out of there. We can go over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. We can also adjust the blur, which is pretty cool as well. So if you want more blur, you can get that. If you want less, you can do that too. It's nice to have that level of versatility there. We can flip around to the front facing camera, and there's me right there. And we can do also group selfies by cropping out. We can also do standard selfies instead of portrait mode. So certainly quite a few options here with this device, despite it being a budget phone. Now with this device, we have 3 gigabytes of RAM paired up with the MediaTek Helio G37 processor. So kind of a decent amount of RAM, I'd say adequate for a phone in this segment. And the Helio G37, I mean, one shortcoming of it is that there is no support for 5G, but that kind of depends on whether or not you think that's important to you. I will say though, for me personally, I don't think I would buy a phone at this point that doesn't have 5G support, not necessarily because I can't live without it, but because I don't want to go through all the effort of buying a brand new smartphone and not being able to use my carrier's latest and greatest network. So that is worth considering. Now, as far as the speed of the processor itself, it isn't necessarily that fast. You can use the phone for, going on social media a little bit, web browsing now and then, doing phone calls, text messages, it's fine for that. But if you are someone who's always on your phone, or maybe it's a big part of your business, for example, maybe you're constantly using your device, then I definitely think the relative slowness of the processor probably will kind of become frustrating after a while. So if you do use your phone quite a bit, I would probably go for something a bit more powerful and more premium. However, though, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores in that test right now, but essentially, I got a single core score of 160 and a multi-core score of 579. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of how the Moto G Play 2023 compares to your current device. Because you certainly wouldn't want to upgrade to this phone if it's actually a performance downgrade. Now with the Moto G Play 2023, we're getting a very large 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, and the phone does support up to 10 watt fast charging. Now, I wouldn't really call at this point 10 watt fast charging actually fast. There's many other devices, not necessarily in this segment, but other devices that can charge at 20 watts, 30 watts. I mean, there's even some phones out now that can charge at 90 watts. But 10 watts is certainly better than 5 watts. That's kind of the bare minimum. And just know that having that large battery will give you really good battery life, at least a day, if not 2. But you definitely want to recharge the phone at the full 10 watts. Otherwise, it's going to take forever to recharge. Now, the software here is Android 12, and for the most part, it's a pretty stock experience here. So if you're familiar with stock Android, then this will be familiar to you. However, keep in mind that Motorola has added in some of their own proprietary features, which overall I think is a good thing. So they took the best of stock Android and then they made it a bit better with their features. But what I like though about what they've done with their software here, unlike other companies, is that they didn't change Android just for the sake of changing it. They actually made changes that were meaningful and would add to the user experience. So that's always a good thing. And then a pretty big omission here from this phone is no NFC. I certainly wish we had it. NFC is the technology used for tap and pay. So if you're familiar with Apple Pay, for example, with the iPhones, or using Google Pay with any Android device, you do need an NFC chip in the phone to actually be able to go to a cash register and pay. So that might not be important to you. It kind of depends. I know for me personally, with any device I test out that has NFC, I do tend to use it quite a bit. So I do wish this phone did have it. At the same time though, for it being a affordable budget device, kind of one of the more lower end phones from Motorola, I'm not necessarily surprised that we don't have it here. Now overall, I am very impressed with the various cameras on this device. Of course, you have to keep your expectations in line. This is not a $1,000 smartphone, so you certainly shouldn't expect results from the various cameras that reflect on a higher price like that, because this is an affordable smartphone. But I'll let the photos kind of speak for themselves and the video samples that you'll see in a second. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I mean, you can definitely capture images that are plenty good for social media. Maybe you're on vacation, you want to capture your various memories and preserve them for the long term. I definitely think that the cameras here are perfectly adequate for that. So again, let me know what you think of the various photo samples in the comment section below. But in general, I'm really happy here with what we're getting. But let's now check out some video samples from the Moto G Play 2023. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with a 1080p front-facing test video from the Motorola Moto G Play 2023. Definitely curious to know what you think about the video and audio quality, so definitely let me know. And here is a 1080p test video using the main rear camera on the Moto G Play 2023. Overall, I think it's pretty good quality, especially for a lower end phone like this one. We do have very fast autofocus in video mode as well, which is awesome. You can see it very quickly focuses in on those rocks. We are pretty much right in the middle of the day too, so some pretty intense sunlight. So you can see kind of the contrast between the shaded areas and the areas that have some sun. It's putting the camera to the test for sure. And this phone does support macro videos using the macro camera. So here is a macro video. This is a pretty small pebble overall, and you can see how it does look pretty clear here in this macro mode for video. But now that we've gone over the major features and specifications of the Motorola Moto G Play 2023, let's take a closer look at the actual hardware itself. Now this phone is made completely of plastic, besides the display, which is glass, so keep that in mind. So you definitely will want to pair this phone up with some sort of case, just because plastic is more prone to getting scratched up. Now taking a look at the left side of the phone, we just have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and then also the power button. Then up top here, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, and we also have the noise canceling microphone. Then on the bottom of the phone, we have the microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. Another thing I want to point out as well is that there is no stereo audio with this phone, so audio only comes out of the main speaker. You don't get it out of the earpiece. The earpiece is only for phone calls in this situation, but there are other more premium devices out there where you get audio out of both the earpiece and the main speaker, but this phone does not have that, and it really shouldn't be surprising, but if that's something you're used to, just know that you're not getting it here. Thankfully though, the speaker is plenty loud, so if you want to sit back, relax, watch a movie, maybe listen to music, that won't be an issue. Now taking a look at the back of the phone, we have a nice matte finish. It does kind of pick up some fingerprints, but not really. We have a triple camera setup, flash, and then we also have the fingerprint sensor with the Motorola logo on it. So you're gonna pull up right here, and then pull that down, and then just like that, the handlebars will then fold in. So you can see at this point, the bike has definitely been shrunken down. So I'm definitely a big fan of watching video content on the Moto G Play 2023. The device has a really large display, the speakers get decently loud, and as an added bonus, I do appreciate that there is a headphone jack. That's certainly a feature that we're seeing less and less of, but it is very useful. So I'm glad we have that. And then if you want to as well, you can crop in further when watching video content here on the phone. But in general, if you want to sit back, watch a movie, it won't be an issue here with the Moto G Play 2023. So in conclusion, I definitely think the Moto G Play 2023 is a solid, affordable option from Motorola. There are definitely a few shortcomings, which I pointed out in this video. And the main ones for me definitely have to be only 32 gigs of storage, no 5G, and then also no NFC. So if you're okay with those very shortcomings and you don't want to spend too much on a smartphone, then I do think the Moto G Play 2023 is worth considering. But if you want to learn more about this device, I have linked to it in the video description, so definitely take a look. But with all that said, this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and have a great rest of your day.